See if we got that. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, where do we even begin with this one? Welcome back to Beyond the 90. We've got a few people with us today. We've got Rich, Alex, James. So thank you guys for checking out. And just over to you, Rich, special guest. Where do we start for that one? Because normally we go, oh yeah, let's talk about the. I don't know. What do you want to do? Where do you want to start? What was the score line? I don't know. Everything's a bit of a mess at the moment, isn't it?
I think we could potentially start with what should the scoreline have been. But no, a really, really strange game where we just were, just not at it. And Liverpool were on it for the first sort of 70 minutes. And then we scored that goal and we just knocked it up 15 levels and Liverpool just went to pieces. What a game. I was losing my mind. I'm so happy. Well played, Leicester. We've got it.
Yeah, it's such a strange one. But again, Alex, I'll just ask you the same question because I don't even know where to start, to be honest. First of all, what was your reaction when we had three goals in such I think 10 minutes? But what was the first thing you want to say? Because I'm all over the place at the moment.
Well, to start things off, I was absolutely miserable for 75 minutes. I was just sitting there in silence, just angry. And then for the last 15 minutes or so, I was dancing around my apartment screaming. So I'm just a ball of emotions right now. I can't believe it. What an incredible 15 minutes to pull out a win here. Absolutely brilliant. I'm fired up.
Yeah, it's insane at the moment. There's stuff that's going around. But James, just a question. It's a very simple question this early in the video, but do we deserve it? And that sounds really stupid, but there's part of me that just goes, did we play enough to win 3-0, 3-1?
So for me, Alex said 75 minutes. We seemed to park a bus. We didn't really seem to go forward. Ricardo and Amati seemed to be getting past left, right, and centre. And then I think we scored, and I think it all came together. We started to give Tielemans the ball. Maddison started to come into it. And we just started to get better and better after we scored the first goal. And maybe the first goal gave us that confidence. In Liverpool, they are current Premier League champions. And maybe that got to us a bit. And Rodgers has got that history with them as well. So I think it's a difficult one.
Yeah, it really is a difficult one at the moment. Again, we've got Glenn just to join in. We didn't play well, but we couldn't string two passes together, which is something I'm going to come on to in a bit because that was literally unbelievable at times. But we won 3-1. Can somebody explain it? That's what I've been trying to do. And normally this is a bit where I'd go through each of the parts and go, this is what happened. This was good. This was bad. In this case, I just everything happened from pretty much for Leicester from the 78th minute with a goal, and even though Vardy hit the post and thing, and obviously 67 minutes with them Mo Salah scoring. But Rich, just the first goal, and was that offside and stuff like that? What do you think?
No, I originally thought it was, and I was fuming. And I know there was a bit of confusion about it because it's like, well, if he wasn't interacting with the keeper, should it be offside? But then obviously the law is that if they go for the ball, they are offside. So if they try to interfere with play, let alone whether they do, so it would have been. But then when they went to the VAR, I was like, well, he's blatantly off. What are they doing? And I couldn't see the foot. I can't remember who it was now. Was it? I forgot.
Firmino, I think for them.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't see his foot, but then when we went to VAR, I thought, oh God, yeah, his foot's right there. He's playing him onside. So, I was just like incredible. And obviously there was the thing between, should it be a penalty? Should it not? I don't think it was a penalty. I think if that had been given against us, I'd have been losing my mind and saying that was outside the box. So I think it's fair. And obviously it ended up being good anyway. So, what a goal. And that just sort of gave us the impetus then to suddenly Harvey Barnes started looking like he could actually take on their players and they just looked scared of him. But, Vardy seemed to start making those runs again. Everything just seemed to click after that goal. So, yeah, brilliant, amazing. And, it wasn't offside, but it was very, very close.
Yeah, it's such a weird one, Alex, coming into it because, again, as you were saying, 75 minutes, it was just a weird performance. Nothing was clicking in. Leicester don't look like they're playing properly. And then all of a sudden, we just hit this run of form and we're playing some of the best football I can remember. It was like Chelsea. Remember we were speaking about Chelsea and how good that was. That's what we reverted to. again, just from the little things like Ndidi winning it in the middle, he was doing that all game and showing how much quality he was. And again, Vardy getting his goal, Barnes getting his goal. Do the players take this as a good thing and then just go on from there? Because at the moment it's quite substantial at the moment how big this win is.
I think it's incredibly important, and like for the players to just turn this game, this is kind of like that turnaround that they needed. They haven't really been playing well over the last few games, and they come out of the gate against Liverpool flat as anything. When it was 1-0, at that point I was like, oh, this is it. Like I was just kind of analyzing the rest of the game, being okay, are we going to do anything different? Are we going to change tactics or any of that? And all of a sudden, just like 1, 2, 3, and I think you got to look at this game and just be like, we can compete, but we just need to play our game. I think one of the issues that we seem to have against some of the top teams in the league is that we try to play their style of football, where we need to be like, okay, let's play our style of football and let's let them come to us. And James mentioned this in the pregame, talking about how the game will be decided in the midfield. And I think Ndidi really dictated the play in the midfield there, and allowed us in the last 15 minutes to really utilize that and take control of the entire game. And seeing goals from Barnes and Vardy really getting that goal and getting the monkey off his chest was one of the biggest things, because he's had the opportunities left, right, and center, and he's not been able to capitalize on it. And for him to really get that goal and get the monkey off his back is really good, because moving forward, I think that's just going to help him, especially coming back from injury and whatnot. But yeah, it's just incredible. I think this is just going to push them further along and just really challenge them to be better when they're facing some of the top teams that they seem to struggle against.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just apologies again. I think I'm just all over the place. Normally we go through, but we'll try and start from the beginning again. James, we went to 3 at the back today, and we played a position where they were. You had Daniel Amate, Soyuncu, and Evans at the back, and then you had Ricardo on the left, which I thought was a bit of a strange one. But over to you and your thoughts just with the initial positioning, because I thought they would have gone for a 4-2-3-1 for like a person-for-person counteract, but this time, I think they learned their lesson, but they played 3 at the back. And how well was that today, especially defensively?
I personally thought they played 4 at the back. I think Rich does as well. Ricardo was left back, and Marty was right back, and Evans and Kaggs in the centre. And I think that's the way they set up. However, I don't think that was right. I think playing 3 at the back would probably been better against Liverpool, because in the first half, Ricardo and Marty were being torn to pieces by Salah and Mane. So I think the set wasn't right. I probably would have gone 3 at the back, like you said. And then you've got Chelsea fans saying,
which is good fun. Credit to you, Aaron. That's a great comment. It's all laugh, mate.
So I think the set was weird for me, but Kaggs was outstanding in that first half. He just controlled that defense. Everything that came in, he got out. We were even defending corners, which probably shocked a lot of Leicester fans. That every corner that was coming in, he was getting his head to it. I think my only disappointment, and I'm not sure how this affects us, is Evans couldn't even walk coming on the second half. He looked very, very kind of injured. And then he seemed to start running towards the end of the game. So I'm not sure that'll be an injury or not. It just worried me a little bit that they didn't take him off and try and protect him. Because going forward, you'd expect him to be that linchpin in there.
Yeah, I totally agree. We're going to bring somebody else in who is a Liverpool fan. Duan, A, is your camera working? B, can you hear us? C, what the hell? Talk us through that one, mate, because you must have been brilliant at 66 minutes. And after that, what the hell happened?
Well, I mean, it's very simple what happened. Basically, hi guys, thanks for having me on first. And I was listening to what you were saying. Sorry, my camera is not working. I was just trying to click on it and it won't come up. It says there's an update. So so in terms of the game itself, I think the first half, as I mentioned when we were texting, Neil, basically Henderson and Kabak, there was a miscommunication going on during that first half, and I was very surprised that Leicester didn't actually break down that defense. It was very vulnerable at times, Liverpool, because Leicester weren't really. I don't know if they were afraid of Liverpool because of the name, but Liverpool are broken. They're not the same Liverpool as they were last season, and you can see signs of that multiple times. And Liverpool are struggling for goals. Yeah, Salah, he's a bit, when he gets into those key areas, sometimes he's not passing the ball to put it into the near post, for someone to tap it in. Sometimes he likes to go for it. And, I respect that. And, the amount of goals he scored is brilliant. They scored that one great goal, Liverpool. And then after that, I thought, okay, things are happening. The tempo was rising from Liverpool. The desire was there. And then that goal that Leicester scored, I mean, okay, Thiago, I wasn't liking him at all. He was losing the ball multiple times. He's very short. His physicality isn't there. So it's a cheap free kick, I would say. And when I saw the ball go in, I'm still a bit surprised if it was a penalty. What do you call it? A goal or not? If it was offside or not? Because it's very odd. I've seen goals, with Liverpool. There's been multiple times in a similar situation where it was always given against us. So in most ways, I wasn't thinking it was going to be offside, given as offside anyway. But then the second and third goal, if you look at that, what is Alisson doing? I mean, is it because of that, Kabak is new and, Kabak doesn't notice the voice of Alisson, or was there any voice coming from Alisson to say the ball is mine? It didn't make sense. And, Leicester confidence went up. And when Liverpool conceded, they felt like, oh, here we go again. Hence why those 7 minutes, they were out of position multiple times. Kabak and Henderson, again, they weren't. I didn't trust in them at all during that game. I always thought Leicester would come up. And Trent, he was very good during the whole game. I think it was one of his best performances, to be honest. But, respect to Leicester. They came out, their football wasn't there. They weren't playing well, but that goal shooted up their confidence and showed the difference between these two sides. One, losing a lot of multiple injuries defensively, and Brendan Rodgers. I heard James saying that free in the back is very good. Liverpool actually, I loved opponents when they play free at the back because Liverpool expose them when they cut inside with Salah and Mane multiple times. But I didn't see them playing free at the back in that second half. I saw them more four in the back and more solid. And if Leicester played, I don't want to call it parking the bus, but if they played more players at the back, I don't think Liverpool would have scored that goal from Salah either. Because Liverpool are struggling when opponents have a lot more players in the box than opening up space, because that's what Liverpool find more easier to create those chances.
Yeah, thanks for that, man. And I appreciate it, but again, there was a lot to unpack there. But no, so I appreciate your opinion. Just I think we'll come back to again the second goal. By the time I've not even Rich began to process the first goal, what quite happened, and then the second goal is in, and I think I just text you. I was like, I don't know how to respond to this because this is unbelievable at the moment. So. Again, it was, as Duan was saying, it was just a complete miscommunication. And Kabak, yes, it's his first day, but man, oh man, that's going to be an introduction to the Premier League he will never forget.
I mean, it's really interesting. It was really interesting just listening to Duan. I think, I mean, for me, in the first half especially, and then for the first sort of 10, 15 minutes of the second half, every time we had the ball, it seemed like Liverpool had 8 players around us. And it seemed like they had, sort of 5, 6 extra players. And I was like, how is this happening? Like, how, and they'd win the ball back and then we'd have one person trying to get the ball back in between 5 of theirs. So I thought, what is going on here? If they slipped an extra couple of people on without the ref knowing, it was ridiculous. But for that second goal, I think for me, the difference is, if that's the other side of things, and it's the ball's coming over and Schmeichel's running out, I'm hearing his call from my house in Nottingham. So I think there's a huge difference there. Like, who knows? I think Alisson probably wasn't loud enough and wasn't vocal enough, and who knows? And I feel sorry for for the new defender, but it's one of those. I think just quickly going back to a point that Alex made earlier, and I believe James as well. I think it's huge for Vardy to get a goal. There's 2 huge points for me. One, that Vardy's finally scored again. Hopefully that's going to do the world of good for him. And 2, we finally beat Liverpool, because I am terrified every time we play Liverpool. I don't mind playing Man City. I don't mind playing, Arsenal, Man United, whatever. Fine. I'm terrified of Liverpool. Since that 15-16 season, which, is just a bit of an anomaly, I'm terrified of Liverpool. And today we've got that, again, using the term that Alex used, we've got that monkey off our back. So yeah, really, really strange one. But no, really interested to hear the points that Dewan was making there.
Yeah, it really was. Just over to you, Alex, in terms of obviously with the 3 goals, and it could have been 4, apart from we Slate Addison obviously wasn't doing, but my God, what he did there for Vardy was that tapping, that double save was unbelievable. But you got that one to come, that point to come on and do. And also, I want to introduce, how did you think that Ricardo did today? Obviously playing on the left-hand side, but I think that's the first time we've seen Ricardo actually play on the left. Every other time he's actually played on the right because of Chilwell's been in and James Justin's been in since he's played. But how well did he marshal Salah out the game?
That's I want to say that he did okay, but it just seemed like Salah just kind of ran past him like every opportunity that he had. But I think one of the biggest things that you can look at this is that, with Ricardo is that he never gives up. He's always doing his best to, do whatever he can in order to, facilitate, the ball going in the opposite direction. So, I got to give him credit for that. But I think this just shows you that, he's still not at the top of his game and he's still improving. And that's nothing wrong because, he, for the most part, he did quite well. There was a few times that I noticed that, Salah had, ample room and he just took off and Ricardo was more just kind of chasing him as best as possible. But I think, while it will come, with him, just continuing to play and, just develop his, his fitness more and more, I think, he'll have no issue. But, at the end of the day, we're pulling out 3 points against Liverpool. And I think that's all. At the end of the day, that's just incredible.
Yeah, and as you were saying, it's a bit of a bogey team. But again, I'll come back to one point towards you, Dewan, in terms of Alisson. Obviously, he goes through spells of he has amazing saves, and then he just leaves it open. So I don't know where you want to start with that because he comes in and he comes out, and I don't really know what to say. Just your thoughts on, again, he should be calling for that, but then 2 minutes later, he makes an unbelievable double save against Barnes and Vardy.
Yeah, I mean, he's a key player for us. Even though against Man City, you could say 3 of those goals that they scored against us were his fault as well. But I don't want to blame him. I mean, the defense should be covering for him at times, and just communication is so simple. Just to shout and say it's mine. And I didn't even understand why he came out for that ball when Kabak is already, there's no one around him. I can't remember I think it was Maddison who was close by, and he wasn't even that close. There was still a few yards away. But again, it was just, I think the main thing was when Liverpool conceded that first goal, they seemed like, because they worked so hard to get to where they are. And to be honest with you, I think that was Liverpool's best performance in most ways because their tempo was high, their desire was there, and they were probably confident. But when they conceded that goal, the first one, which I believe was offside, and they've given us onside, they probably had a hinge of, oh, here we go again. We're going back to square one. We worked all that hard to get to where we are. Now we've got to track back. And then all of a sudden, the second the goal, and then probably once they conceded that second goal, it just demolished them so much. Because I didn't understand why Chamberlain came on. Because as I've been watching Liverpool since so long, and especially this season, every game I watched him, I never understand Chamberlain. This season, he's just not been at it, and then especially when Curtis Jones had a very good game. Once he got taken off, that's because he was putting a lot of pressure on the midfielders of Leicester from moving upwards. But it seemed like especially those last those 7 minutes, was it those 3 goals? I believe Leicester had a lot more players in Liverpool's half, and that was a bit surprised for me because they were very, let's be careful, and then all of a sudden the balance was just taken off. It was quite surprising, but it's a good win for Leicester, obviously. But then for Liverpool, what happens, I don't know. I mean, I thought that the only thing I wanted was Henderson to not be in defence. Klopp is still going to play that, I believe. And you know, I don't know. We got Leipzig next. I'm not really looking forward to any games as a Liverpool fan. And honestly, I'm you know, the games haven't been good enough for Liverpool. A lot of the injuries are to answer that. But just, you know, we're not scoring that many goals. The midfielders, I'm not liking Thiago. He doesn't seem to fit in as much as I hoped for. Defensively, I mean, not just his passing, but you know, it's not good for Liverpool fans, obviously. But we'll see how things change.
Yeah, we'll have to see again. Hopefully, that we had it last year with the run of form and how terrible that was, and you just can't seem to do things right. And I think Liverpool did do a lot of things right today, but just the finishing in the final third was just one of the main things we're lacking on. And today, just over to you again, Rich, because again, we've got another injury potentially in Perez now as well. And obviously there's Perez thing, and I want to bring you onto the midfield. How do you think them between Perez today and the midfield? What do you think? Again, I think Tielemans didn't quite have his best game today, which I think is just down to tiredness a lot of the time. So, but what do you think about the midfield and Perez going off as well? Because our injury list is getting stupid now.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because the things with to touch on your point about Tielemans, I mean, obviously he was technically at fault for the first goal because he did the crossfield ball that was intercepted, and then obviously that led to their goal. However, Rodgers has said on several occasions that he is a much better player when he continuously plays. So if he has a game off, his level drops. So it's a difficult one because you've got to fight between the fitness levels, but his level of play in general. But obviously it was his pass that led to the second goal. So, you know, there's swings and roundabouts. However, with another injury to Perez, I'm hoping that is just a precaution. And they went, you know what, we're 3-1 up. There's no need to risk it. So they took him off. It's worrying, but I think every team is the same. You know, if you look at Liverpool, they're obviously, you know, riddled with injuries, and every other team in the Premier League at the moment is riddled with injuries just due to the amount of games. So, look, I don't think any team can complain too much. We've got to just get on with it. That might lead to some chances from some of the younger players to come through. Whether we want that, I don't know. But, you know, the likes of James Justin and Fofana were both thrust in due to injury, and look how well they've both turned out. So, you know, there's potential. However, it is annoying because obviously we'd much prefer a fully fit squad with all options to choose from, and rather than worrying about, God, you know, have we got to put someone in from the youth, and it's a big risk. So, yeah, for me, it's frustrating, but I think every Premier League team's in the same position.
Yeah, I totally agree in terms of we just got to kind of get on with it. And Brendan Rodgers has been quite good in that aspect where he's not really focused on the issues that are going on. He says, this is what it is. The injury situation is what it is, and we'll just kind of continue. I want to bring it on to one person, to you, Alex. In Didi today, again, we know what he does, but today, in a team that didn't really perform that well, he was one of the standout players. I think James was mentioning Söyüncü as well, but what did you think of Ndidi and his performance today? Because I think Rich was saying that he texted me at half time and goes, if Ndidi wasn't playing, we'd be 2-0 down by now.
Ndidi shined when everything else was dark. That's the best way to put it. Because, you know, he really was that one player that really stuck out and was contributing left, right, and center. I think one of the biggest things, you know, with Ndidi is that, like, just the level of play and the compete that he has. Because, you know, he's come back from injury twice this season, and it seems like whenever he comes back, he never misses a beat, which is just just absolutely incredible to actually think. So the fact that he can just come into a game, you know, after dealing with an injury and just be like, I'm here, I'm going to do, you know, 120%. I got this, don't worry. And he really dictated play throughout the entire game in the midfield. And like I said before, without Ndidi, and you've mentioned it as well, Neil, without Ndidi, this would be a loss, and we'd be talking about a completely different outcome. So just hats off to Ndidi and just how well and how clinical he is in the midfield.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, I didn't say that. That was Rich. I'll give Rich credit for that one because he was the one that messaged me. I just took his idea. Over to you, James, in terms of today. Obviously, we had Söyüncü at the back as well. But Is there anybody else that really stood out to you? Did Vardy I've just had a comment in the first half, Vardy should have scored 2 or 3, but it just wasn't on form today. But hopefully this kind of goal is just going to hopefully take him up to the next level, and hopefully 2 or 3 goals time, we're looking at a very different Vardy that is competing for the Golden Boot.
Yes, 2 of the 3 chances maybe on a different day he would have scored, but he's been injured, coming back from injury, not scored in 7, so he won't be high in confidence. The one that hit the bar I thought was going in, an inch lower, and it does go in off the bar. He got his goal. I did predict that Alisson would do a disaster class at some point, so got that right. But I think with Vardy, he's just going to get better and better. I think for me, Barnes was non-existent till about the 60th minute, and then he seemed to find his running shoes. And with Barnes, everyone knows if he runs at you, defenses are terrified of him. And when he started to run at them, I think that's when we started to split them open. So for me, Barnes, but I think man of the match, probably Sionchu. But Ndidi, one thing I want to bring up about Ndidi is he's coming back from injury and he's got them long legs. Every time he stretches for a ball, it worries me. Something's going to go wrong. Because obviously with our team, we're good at getting hamstring injuries, aren't we?
Especially this season, and just all sorts of injuries at the moment. So we'll try not to. I've just got down here Ndidi superhero as one of my 60th minutes thing, because again today he was just saving us all over the place and sweeping up stuff. But yeah, I totally agree. Sionchu is another one. Just over to you, Dewan. I know it's been probably an awful beginning of the year and how it's gone so far, but was there any man of the match for you guys, or was it all just a bit meh, to be honest? Because we've got a couple, but only because we're winning. If we were losing 1-0, I don't think we'd have a man of the match. So just over to you, and just what have you got a man of the match for your side?
It's very odd because Liverpool did have a very good spell at times, and then I thought okay, this is a bit similar to the old Liverpool. But I wouldn't give anyone man of the match, obviously, if we did win. I mean, I don't know who to give it to, because it felt like at times it was the same. At times it felt like the same Liverpool, where they're just passing and moving. Especially in the first half, they were just passing and moving, not sure what to do next. And then when Leicester would open up space, Trent would use his ball, and use his ball to get Salah or Mane through, and they did do that a few times in the first half. But then in the second half, as I mentioned, that 3 centre backs sort of changed into that 4, as I saw, and then things seemed more difficult for Liverpool until they scored that first goal, and then that desire was there. It was very. I was like, I was a bit more confident until that free kick, unfortunately, from Thiago giving it away. And then, things changed. But, I mean, the player from Liverpool that seemed to play well when he had the ball was Henderson, when he was moving into midfield, because that's his area, not defense. I don't understand why he keeps playing him in defense, especially his long balls at times was very vital in bringing Salah in and Mane, because that's the style of Liverpool. When the midfielders get the ball, they look up for the 2 attackers, not Firmino, but Mane and Salah, when they cut inside into the area. And a few times that happened, but we missed that. We really do. We need Fabinho and Henderson in that midfield. And I forgot to improvise on one comment. I can't remember who mentioned it of you guys when you said the corners. You guys mentioned that you defended well, but Liverpool have struggled with corners. I mean, we scored a goal from Firmino against Tottenham. That was the last time, and the amount of corners Liverpool have had. I mean, if you look at it, we don't really have a Matip, a Van Dijk who get to the end of it. So we are struggling. We've got very short players, and obviously, it's much more easier to defend against Liverpool's set pieces. So it's. As a Liverpool fan, I'm not sure what's going on. I don't know what Klopp's going to play next. I've always said just stop playing this style of play. Make Firmino play as a cam, because that's what I see as him. I don't see him as a forward. Play Mane and Salah forward, and then the midfielders shouldn't have Thiago in it. It just doesn't make sense. He's not, he still needs time to adjust to this Premier League, because he's too slow at times. And he doesn't increase the tempo. And today he was making too many mistakes. So, I'm not liking it at the moment. It needs a complete different system to be implemented.
Yeah, I think so. And just a quick question before we hand over to somebody else. What are your ambitions? Is it still top 4 to try and finish? Because obviously that's a 6-pointer now you've just played, and you've not managed to get it. So what's the ambition now?
Yeah, as soon as after we had our defeat against Burnley and Brighton, I said top 4 is our vital spot. Even that's very difficult because Chelsea, with their new manager who's a bit more experienced than Lampard, as soon as I saw Tuchel come in, I said, they're going to challenge for that top 4, and they will be very likely taking over from Liverpool in the coming weeks or the next few Premier League games, because I don't have any confidence in Liverpool at the moment. Not just because of how bad we are, because the Klopp is still insisting playing his same style with the players' confidence being very low, and also opponents coming up playing with a lot more deeper back line, and that just doesn't work for Liverpool. It hasn't. Even last season we struggled against Atletico and Watford and Man United multiple times, and even Aston Villa when we beat them 2-1 by Mane's last minute or last kick of the game or header he scored. I said this, he needs to change it, and if he doesn't change it, it's even top 4. I'll lose my confidence in that as well.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Over to you, Rich, in terms of man of the match today, and just in terms of your thoughts in general, because again, as I was saying earlier, I normally have a format for all of this and kind of, but it all just got thrown out the window just with 3 goals in 7 minutes, and everything that was kind of got erased because it didn't matter in the grand scheme of things after that.
Yeah, I think there was man of the matches for sort of like 10, 15 minute periods. So I agree that Soyuncu for the first sort of 10, 15, 20 minutes was incredible. However, I think overall, I can't believe Steve McManaman just overlooked Ndidi and just said, "Oh, it's been Barnes just because he scored." I was like, "Yeah, but who set that up? And who's been stealing the ball left, right, and centre the whole game?" So I think it's I think Ndidi for me. Just at one point, if you wouldn't mind, Neil, on and I'd love to know Duan's thoughts on this. Because interestingly, obviously the ball's coming from the back from Henderson. Because before you answered that, I said, "Oh, it's going to be Henderson. He was their best player." And I think it was the commentator said that because he was so far back, his long balls were more effective than when he's in midfield. So I don't know whether that's something that played into it, and whether that does work when he's in midfield. His passing rate isn't as good. I don't know. Obviously, I don't watch them nearly as much.
Yeah. So basically, in terms of coming back, usually what Henderson does is that he always plays in from the Liverpool's half still, but he assists with the defenders. He covers back, especially for Trent, usually, because he always plays on the right side. So when Trent doesn't have that cover from, let's say in this game, Wijnaldum and Thiago, and even in the last game against Man City, Henderson was shouting at Thiago to say, before he got taken off, you need to cover Trent, because Trent needs that cover. And that's why Barnes was sort of, if you notice when he got that, I think it was the second goal, Maddison and Barnes and especially those 2 goals, Trent didn't have that support, but when he did, Thiago gave the free kick away, or let's say likely a penalty or free kick that ended up a goal. So as I mentioned, in terms of the ball effectiveness is not when he's in the opponent's half, it's when it's in the Liverpool half, and then he crosses the ball in. That's when it's more vital, for sure.
So it helped that he was in defence today for those long balls, at least, because every time he got the ball, I thought, "Oh God, this is going to go through." It was, I mean, his passing array was incredible in that first half.
Yeah.
Obviously not good enough in the end as in the people coming onto it, but no, every time he got the ball, it looked like he was doing a pinpoint pass over to Salah or Mane, or it was just terrifying to watch. I was like, God, I'd love to have him in our defence just for those overballs to Vardy.
But I would say if he was more in the midfield position, what I mean by that is he wasn't doing the defensive work, because his defensive work wasn't, as you can see, it didn't work because Liverpool plays so much possessive and it kills so much time. You don't see the opponents have the opportunity, and when they did, Leicester, it ended up in the back of the net or hit the crossbar, or something happened because of. Liverpool's defense is so open And a lot of teams say, well, Liverpool's defense is still really good, but it's not really, is it? I mean, okay, we conceded 3 in 7 minutes, but that was the only 7 minutes that Leicester actually, looked more threatening. And every time Leicester or any opponent, especially in the games I've been seeing Liverpool, every time an opponent is creating something, it always ends up in the net. I mean, against Brighton and Burnley, they only had one opportunity and they still ended up in the net. When Liverpool have like 12, 15, 20 no shots on target, it's like, come on, what's going on here? But yeah, it's like I said, we need to change our system, unfortunately. But it's a good win for Leicester. And, I think, as I mentioned before, my prediction is still vital. Man City will win the title. Leicester will be second. Man United is going to struggle once they play Europa League, as every other team does, because of the Thursday fixtures and this weekend fixtures is never a good thing for any Premier League side trying to fight for the title, let's say. Obviously, as a Liverpool fan, I don't want to see United winning it. Let's be honest, but they do have the quality of players from every area. They haven't had the injury issues, and I'm hoping Leicester would end up in the second spot, because I would like them to win the title, of course, obviously, but I don't see Man City slipping. Their football is still, regardless what people want to say, their football is still playing the same way. They still score from tap-ins, even if it's a joke or not. They're winning games. That's what I want to say, and they're more solid at the back as well. I think they're going to win the title. I think Leicester will come up second. But the key area is that third and fourth spot. I think that Chelsea will be challenging. I'm not sure about Liverpool at the moment.
Yeah, Liverpool are on a bit of a weird one at the moment. But over to you, Alex. Man of the match and just final thoughts of the game, because again, it was just such a strange one in terms of I should be feeling more happy that we won 3-0, but at times we kind of didn't deserve it. But yeah, just final thoughts and man of the match as well.
I think we just need to give credit to the fact that we defended on corners, left, right, and center. Because, we've talked about this time and time again, how much we struggle on set pieces and defending those set pieces. And the fact that, we had to defend more than 10, I believe, and was actually successful is incredible. Because we talked about this, I think, in the pre-match video about how we're going to be terrified whenever, Liverpool are going to have the opportunity to have a corner. And the fact that we, managed to succeed on every single opportunity is just fantastic. And I think another person we got to shout out is Schmeichel yet again. He huge, like absolutely huge. We don't have Schmeichel, like I said again, this game is completely different, outcome's completely different. Man of the match though for me is I gotta choose Soyuncu. For a player that's been sitting on the bench and biding his time to get back into the starting 11, especially with Fofana and Evans playing so well, I think you just got to give credit to Soyuncu, because he came in and he defended absolutely perfect. And, especially when, he's been sitting on the bench for most of the season after his injury because he just can't slot in. I think this is just another way for him to really, show that he's deserving of starting. And I think that just makes it much more of a healthy competition between him, Fofana, and Evans at this point. Because, at this rate, I think Keggs is one of those players that could easily just jump in and push someone out at this rate.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's going to be a golden problem once everybody comes back at the moment. But yeah, totally agree. And that I've got it down as my notes again. 25-minute save. That I was just I saw it full speed. I think it's one down at the ground you don't appreciate. You think it comes off something, but the behind the scene, the camera behind the goal as he's got his hand out. That was just. Again, he's made some amazing saves this season, but that will be definitely up there. Over to you, James, before we finish. Same question to you. What do you think? And any final thoughts before we finish?
So final thoughts. I thought first half we could have scored 3. I was quite surprised with Salah in the first half. That volley, generally volleys like that, he hits. And you expect them to go in. So I think he had a poor game, although he scored. Second half, we just came into it 75 minutes. As soon as that goal went in, went for it. Thanks for that, Glenn. We really went for it after that goal went in and just decided to just rip them to pieces. The midfield just sprung to life. Man of the match, and Diddy was just like a rock. One thing I will say about Liverpool, and I think we touched on it on Doug's show yesterday, was around Thiago seems to slow them down. Yes, he's an amazing midfielder, but he puts the foot on the ball and he slows them down. Whereas I think that's what they're missing this season, that quickness through midfield to attack, which Henderson generally brings, but when Henderson's at the back, he can't do that. So as we said yesterday, this was a great time to play Liverpool. So happy for the win. And I thought we played amazing the last 15 minutes. Had a conversation with Alex. We know how the first 75 went. We were awful the first 75, and then just turned into world champions within 15 minutes. And we just took them to pieces. Defensive wise, huge respect to the defense today. Corners, free kicks, they defended everything that was thrown at them. Even Evans, he was barely walking, but his positioning was still amazing. He knew where to be, even though he was hobbling. So I think defense-wise, I think we played really, really well.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it was just like going forward, but we managed to get the goals in the end. But yeah, I'd like to thank everybody for watching the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Thank you for all the good comments as well. They've been a riot, and half of them have been really good fun as well. So appreciate them. And we'll see everybody for the next video. So look forward to that. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll see you all in the next video. So goodbye.
Thanks, guys.